got this up and this up. I need to go up here. All right. Not that. I need this. I need that. So how you doing, man?
I am beat.
I can
As soon as this
understand that.
episode is over, I am going to bed. I know I'm a wuss.
No, I get it, man. This weekend's been crazy. There. Post. Okay. I hope that posted. There we go. Posted. Oh, shit. Oh, whoops. I didn't. Well, I posted that in the wrong spot.
I was gonna say it said it came up on the Geekvice
Whoops.
tabletop day.
It did. It did. Ah, fuck. God damn it. Stop. Facebook. I didn't want to do that. I'll try to remove that later. Oh my goodness. So yeah, that's kind of how the weekend's gone.
Awesome.
But Reese had a good birthday party, so that was good. He had a good birthday yesterday.
That is good.
So let's just do that. Take that off. Publish. There. There. I got it on the right spot.
Nice.
Okay, I can get rid of Facebook now. I'm on the
Yeah, I thought it was
website.
weird because they normally don't show up on my phone when you post them, and this one did. It's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, that was me. Fucking shit up. Okay. Alright. Are you ready to rock this popsicle stand?
I am. Let's do this thing.
Alright, here we go. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Welcome everybody to Geekvice episode 172, proving any vice with enough geek can become a virtue. My name's Morph, that man's Kip. Good evening, Kip.
Good evening. It also proves that counting is not our strength.
No, no, and it has been just one crazy busy weekend. It is Easter weekend, which means something to some people, not so much to others. So not going to dwell on that, but it usually requires a lot of family get-togethers, at least on my wife's side of the family, and it also means that it is right around my son's and my wife's birthday, so that makes things even a little more crazy. So yeah, it's been a busy weekend. How about yourself over there?
Well, my Easter was spent mowing the yard. I'm still angry about that.
Yeah, as you should be.
And that's about it. And then complaining the rest of the day that I had to mow the yard. So that's pretty much everything.
Yeah, I got out of mowing the yard this weekend because I put seed down last week, and the seed, you don't want to mow when the seed's down and just starting to come up because the roots um, haven't gotten strong enough to be able to hold it against the force of the lawnmower. So, um,
And this is the story you told your wife and she believed it?
this is the story that the grass pad people told my wife, and therefore she believed it. If it was just me saying that, I did. She did. She's like, well, you could mow this morning before we go out to my grandma's house, and I'm like, yeah, I could. Except if I did that, just think the lawnmower. Remember what the grass pad guy said? The lawnmower sucks stuff up into it to chop it up. I'm gonna suck up all the seed that I just put down. She's like, okay, fair enough. So
Well, at least it worked.
yeah, so I'm out another week. I'll have to mow next week, which means it's gonna be so long I'm gonna have to bag it. But it is what
Yeah,
it
and we're
is,
supposed
I
to get
guess.
quite a bit of rain.
Yeah, yeah, we are. So
So enjoy that.
uh, that's probably gonna make it worse, but I'll just deal with it when that comes. I at least got out of it for a couple days. So, but the good thing was about this last week was we got to play a lot of board games. A lot of board games, way more than we normally play. That's for sure.
Nice.
Um, you know, you had a nice little like. Was this a planned gaming day on Friday?
Kind of, sort of. Well, it's kind of a, if we have time on Friday, great. If not, don't worry about it kind of thing. And the stars just aligned for this one. So we actually had a decent showing. We actually had four people show up
Nice.
total. So that made it nice. And got to play some Scythe again. This game is, I already gushed about it in another episode, so you can go back and listen to me gush if you want. But this is my third time playing it. This time we actually had some combat.
Nice.
Yeah. And to scare everybody in the universe, I actually won the game. So,
Ooh.
and by a wide margin. So,
Wow.
the person who never played before came in second. The two people who kicked my butt the last time we played got stomped. So I felt pretty good about that.
So you show you'd learned something from getting beat before, so that's
Well,
good.
this was the first two times I played the same faction, and this time we rotated the board, so everybody played a different faction this time, and so I had to not really get used to, but remember that this faction has a different special ability and all that good stuff. And at the beginning, you get two cards that are like your secret goals for the game.
Right.
And if you get one of them, you get, the whole deal is to get 6 stars. And one of the ways you can get a star is complete one of those goals. And mine was go to the factory space with no upgrades. So it's like, well, instead of trying to limit myself on upgrades, I just made a beeline for the factory square. And when you get to the factory square, you get a card that actually is another spot on your player board.
Mm-hmm.
So get one more thing to choose. And the one I got was freaking awesome. And so it just kind of kept snowballing on me. And my board, what it did was I just pay some gold and I'd get to do the enlist deal, which basically makes it so anybody in the adjacent squares that does that particular action, you get a reward for it. So I was able to unlock all 4 of my enlists really quick instead of going through the normal progression. So anytime anybody did any action, I was getting something from it.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, and nobody else at the table really figured out that getting to the factory thing was an awesome idea. So I just sat there the whole time, and it counts as 3 hexes at the end of the game. So
Yeah.
that gave me even more, and I was able to max out my popularity and my power. And when you max out your popularity, each hex is worth more gold. And since I had it maxed out, and I had the factory square that's worth 3, I kicked some serious ass. So I
That's
just have to
awesome.
win because I don't win very often, and so when I do, I feel like I should walk behind those people ringing the bell, going shame, shame, because it's so rare.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So, and you
Oh, and
also got to play Tiny Epic Galaxies.
yes,
So, have you talked about that one on this show before?
I have not. This is the first time I've ever played it.
Oh, really? Is this
Yeah,
one you own?
no.
Oh,
Jason
okay.
owns this one.
Oh,
Our friend
nice.
Jason. Um, I saw it on Will Wheaton's Tabletop. Maybe you've seen that as well.
Probably.
And I sent a message to Jason. It's like, I'd like to play this game sometime. He's like, oh, funny thing you should say that because I own a copy. So I was like, oh, I don't have to purchase a copy. So he brought it with him, and we had some time after the fact to play it. And it's a fun little game.
Nice.
It's like a full-fledged. Um, I don't know if it's a 4X game, but it's up there. But it comes in a small box, thus the name Tiny. But you, I guess, are a race of people who have the ability to visit distant worlds, and it's a dice rolling game. So you roll the dice. It has all these symbols on it for like economy and power and all this other stuff, movement, so you can fly to another planet. And basically, you go to a planet, you kind of go around its orbit. If you make it all the way through, you get the card for that planet, and each card is worth a victory point or a certain number of victory points. Some of them are like worth 7, some of them are only worth 2 or 3, and of course, the ones that were 7 have more steps to get around to take over the planet, kind of thing. And I thought I was kicking butt. And then it turns out I wasn't kicking so much butt as I thought. So Jason won going away. Um, it's a fun little game. It still took, I don't know, 45 minutes to play, 45 minutes to an hour to play. But I'm thinking about purchasing this and playing it at work because, again, it's called Tiny, so it comes in a small box. The rules were actually fairly easy to learn. Once you get by the symbology on the dice and what it means, it goes pretty fast. You at the beginning you were allowed to roll 4 dice. You roll the 4 dice. You're allowed 1 free re-roll of any number of dice. After that, it costs you power for each re-roll that you want to do. So, not quite the Yahtzee mechanic, but pretty close. And you can do things like upgrade your society, and you get more dice, you get more ships. You start off with 2 ships, you can get a grand total of 4. And as you move up on your player card, move up your race, that's also worth victory points as well. Jason maxed his out, which is 8. I didn't mess with that at all. So I was at the bottom rung with 2 victory points because I was taking over planets. It's like, man, I got a couple of 7s and all this other stuff, and it's the first one of 21 wins. And because Jason maxed out to 8, he didn't need as many cards and cut caught the rest of us off guard that he was already at 21. So, but it's a fun little game. I highly recommend it if you get a chance. It's pretty easy to pick up. Your son might probably would enjoy this game.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. After you described it, I'm like, I did see that episode of Tabletop with Will Wheaton, um, because I think he was playing with Matt Mercer in that one, who's the DM from Critical Role, which I really enjoy. And so when I saw he was on Tabletop, I had to go watch that. And that one looks really cool. Like I do like that. I like that game. The mechanics there. Um, I think are simple enough. That's part of the thing that I really like is it seems simple enough that you can pick up and play fairly quickly, even if it's the first time playing. You can pick up the rules fairly well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it scratches the dice rolling itch. There's a little bit of the exploration where you go to different planets, and every time somebody takes over a planet, they pull the card, you draw another card. You know, you have opportunities to get more planets, and uh, there's also a screw your neighbor kind of mechanic to it, where if somebody is on the ring of the planet going around the steps to take over it, you can land directly on the planet, use the special ability of that planet one time, and then move them back one space, causing them to, so there's a little bit of take that to it as well,
right.
which can be pretty fun. It only happened once in the game we played, but still, when it happened, you're like, damn, I should have done that too, but you know how it goes when you're learning a game. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I dug that game quite a bit, enough that I'm thinking about buying it myself, keeping
Very
it at
cool.
work and playing there.
Very cool. I will have to check that one out. Um, see what the price tag is on that one.
Uh,
I'm before we get into the main topic, which is the game that I played. I actually borrowed from you and played with Reese on Friday. Um, you talked about that Tiny Epic Galaxy was something that you could pick up and learn fairly quickly and start playing right
yes.
away. Um, so for my son's birthday, I bought him Mice and Mystics because I'd heard so many good things about it. He likes the role-playing aspect of Legends of Dritz, but that game's just a little too complicated for him, who just turned 8, to be able to open up the box and be able to play. So I got Mice and Mystics, and I'm not going to go a full review on this um, because I haven't had enough time to really digest it. But spent spent almost about an hour and a half trying to play this game. Yeah, about an hour and a half trying to play this game, and had a really hard time understanding the rules um, to it. And I'm going to chalk it up to the fact that the rule book maybe just isn't the best for it, because the rules, the age group for Mice and Mystics is supposed to be 7 plus. Um, as somebody who's mid 30s, I should be able to read those rules and be able to understand them. For God's sakes, I read 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons Player's Handbook and understood exactly what I was supposed to do as a player. I should be able to pick up just about any quote unquote role playing game and be able to understand what I'm doing, especially one that's designed for 7-year-olds. Um, this one, not so much. So I'm going to give it another shot, and I'm hoping to review it. I'm hoping to be able to play enough of it to review it next week. But it might be something that I don't get to do until after our tabletop day, which happens in like 3 weeks. So
Yeah.
I will definitely have the game there, so people, and I should have at least a better understanding of the rules, and hopefully we'll be able to teach them to people without them having to read the rule book, which might make life a little easier.
Well,
So
I'll definitely watch some videos on it before the game day, so maybe I can be of some assistance.
yeah, there's a there's actually quite a few of them on there, and some of them explain the rules a lot better than anyone else. Once you understand fully what you're doing and you can do it in multiple takes, you can get a video up there that actually makes sense. And so I'm hoping that some of these, one of them that I'm actually that I had pulled up tonight and started watching was it's only 25 minutes long and it explains all the rules in a rather large rule book. So um, looking forward to really getting into that game. And I know both of my sons actually are really stoked. They were a little disappointed tonight because we weren't able to really dive into it because it took me so long to just digest what what I was supposed to do and how everything interacted with each other. Still don't quite understand how the tile system works and how you move from one tile to the next, but I'm hoping that that's explained more as I get going. So,
Yeah, I definitely watch the videos on those things. I remember when I was learning ghost stories.
oh
That is a
yeah,
horrible rule book.
yeah,
Horrible. If you don't watch the videos, it's painful.
yeah.
It's like I have no idea what's going on here.
That was almost one that I picked up that I bought when I was at a tabletop. This games and hobbies. Uh, last week, couple weeks ago, when I picked up this game for Reese, I almost got that game just for me because you and I had such fun playing it when we worked together. I was like, this would be fun to play with the kids. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I remember the rules were really hard to understand. I think I might wait
Yes.
till the kids get a little bit older before I do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. That one definitely is not a kid's game. I think it's like a 14 plus or 12. It says 12 plus.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a, and I think the rule book is like 30 plus.
right.
It's
Well,
tough.
and here's the funny thing, because this is a nice little segue into to the game that I really want to talk about tonight, and that's Battleship Galaxies. Uh, Mr. Kip was nice enough to let me borrow this game, and this game was published in 2011, and it's for 2 to 4 players, aged 13 plus. Now, I just said that my son turned 8 years old yesterday, as of recording this. He was able to understand and play this game um, better than he could a game that was for 7 plus. So it goes down to the simplicity of the game, and it goes to the um, not just the simplicity of the game, but the common sense of play. Uh, when you get into a lot of different moving parts, it becomes fairly complicated. But if you understand, if you're able to get the big picture of what all's going on, it's the all the different moving parts seem to just fall into place, and it becomes a normal thing of, oh, okay, well, I can do this and I can do this and I can do this. And that's about the only place in playing this game that Reese had the biggest struggle with. Um, he I'm trying to think. It was his problem was understanding all the different tactic cards that are there and how you can use them in multiple places. So, to kind of explain this a little bit more, if you've played if you've played Battleship, your old-fashioned standard Battleship, you're already halfway to this game. Um, the the similar aspects, or the aspect of your grid attack system, is still there. So in original Battleship, you're calling out grids like A6, and you find out if you hit or miss. In this one, instead, you're rolling dice that one is letters and one is numbers, and if it says G6, then your opponent looks on his card for the ship you're attacking and sees if it's a hit or a miss. Super simple, easy to pick up, easy to understand. You have your different types of ships, like different destroyers and battleships, and little tiny ships that are all in these really, really nice miniatures, which are super cool. I'm not going to get them all out because they're just that cool. Um, they're all like neatly placed. I lied. I'm going to get them out. So this is one of the battleships.
Yeah, they spent the money on the miniatures. That was pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, super awesome. They have little stands for them. The bigger the ship, the bigger the stand, which makes it even better because um, then you already know what your big ships are, like your aircraft carrier in the old days, are these big like battleship things that have bases that look like this that cover up 6 hexes. Your maps are all hexes. So what this does, or where this deviates a little bit from your um, typical battleship, is the mission system that it kind of gives it. So it sets up almost like scenarios, kind of like what your RPGs type kind of things do, for games like Mice and Mystics and Legends of Dritz and things like that, where it sets up a scenario and then you're playing through it. It's kind of done that way in this game too, which is really cool. The other different part of it is it's an open board with hex spaces on it, so you can see your opponent and you can move your ships around to attack your opponents. Um, Also, all of the ships, instead of just being, they're not just static, they're moving. They also have a tons of stats to them. So you've got shields and you've got hull damage and you've got different weapons. Some ships have a primary weapon and a secondary weapon. Um, Now there's tactic cards that you can add in that are that can be additional weapons. So you can get things. You can get things like, let's see here, an LR5 Ripper cannon. And that's an additional weapon that you can attach to certain ships. So now you could actually have a ship that has that already had 2 attacks, or 2 weapons, excuse me, 2 weapons, and now all of a sudden it has 3 weapons. Some of the weapons can attack more than once. So one of the ships, I think I had, no, it was one of Reese's ships, and it was actually the ship that defeated me. His big battleship could actually attack me. It could attack me 5 times with just its 2 standard weapons. And now one of the weapons that could attack 3 times could only attack small ships. But that's what I was swarming him with, was a bunch of small ships and a couple of medium-sized ships. And so he attacked my small ships with his one gun. He attacked the medium ships with the other gun, and was able to start wiping my guys out really quick. That was the only ship he had left at the end, and he ended up wiping out 4 of my ships in one turn. I thought I
So
had I thought I had him beat, and I
was he the
didn't.
wretches or the humans?
He was the humans.
Ah,
So he wanted to be the good guys because they seemed like good guys, so he got to be them. So yeah, you've got 2 factions. You have the ISN, which I believe is Intergalactic Space Network
nerds. Ah.
nerds. I don't know. And then you have the Wretches, which are kind of like space pirates. It's a lot of fun. I definitely recommend this game, especially if you like battleship type stuff. Um, Really simple. I even like the fact they give you these little boards that you can set up to block what ships you have. So they can't see your ships until you actually launch them or deploy them out into the area, into space. And then even that, some ships, like some of your bigger ships, have um, they can transport other ships. So you can actually hide ships inside of ships. And then, that caught me off guard a little bit when Reese did that, because I didn't think one of his ships had transport space, because it was like a medium-sized ship. And nope, it did. And then all of a sudden there was a bunch of ships surrounding me. Um, so really cool. I also, the other thing that is very interesting about it, this game is dependent upon getting energy. So you're given this little board that looks like this with a lot of holes and numbers on it. The numbers go from 0 to 40. And you have a little token that you put in here, and you start with 15 energy. Each turn, you gain 10 energy. But it costs energy to launch ships and to activate ships. So if you want to move a ship, you have to activate it. So you have to spend the energy cost. If you want to attack, you have to activate the ship. You can't just attack for nothing. So you can so you have to be smart on what you use your energy for. You have to use energy to use these tactic cards to attach them to certain ships. You also some weapons require charging, which means you have to spend energy to use that weapon. So it becomes, and this is where Reese started having a little bit of a hard time, was being able to process all the moves he could make and then say, okay, I want to do this, this, and this. It's going to cost this much energy, and yes, I have enough, or no, I don't.
Right.
Um, he got into the habit of, well, I'm going to do this, and that costs this much, and then I'm going to do this, and it costs this much, and then it's, I want to do this, and oh wait, I don't have enough anymore. So after we finished the game, which um, he did end up winning. It was a very close battle, but he did end up winning. Once we got done, we kind of went through the cards in his hand and what tactics could he have used maybe earlier in the game, which ones could have been more beneficial, that could have swayed him even more. And once he kind of understood a little bit more and started getting into the counting, adding everything up before you made your turn, plan your entire turn out, he started getting a little bit better understanding for it. So
Nice. I got this game at Gen Con 2011. It was like, I think it was like the week Battleship was actually out, was at Gen Con. So I got like one of the first copies. Um, Played it a bunch of times at Gen Con. The friend of mine that went wanted to buy a copy, but he thought he would wait till the end of the convention to get it cheaper, and they sold out like the first day. So he didn't get a copy. I found the game to be a lot of fun, and the quality of the game, like you saw, the miniatures are fantastic. And it was about the time the movie Battleship was coming out. And I'm thinking, awesome, we're going to have this Battleship movie, which is dealing with alien invasion. We've got this Battleship Galaxies game that basically is combat with aliens. I'm thinking they're going to tie these two together. We're going to get expansions. This is going to be awesome. And then Hasbro came out and said, we're done with this game. We're not going to support it anymore. And I was pissed. Because this is a game that could really become epic with some expansions. Maybe, a little bit more board, some more miniatures. It is where they have the quests basically laid out in the rule book. So some more of those would have been nice. Or I guess scenarios, not quests. More of those would have been nice. This game could have really been, going to use the word again, epic. And they just decided, enough is enough. And it's like, damn it. This should have been awesome. You guys blew it. But the game is a lot of fun. It's just they blew it. They could have really made something with this.
Yeah, this definitely could have been something that they expanded on even more than what they did. I mean, even so much so as they actually in the uh, in the box, which you didn't warn me about this. I opened it up, and this first book that I pulled up was like, oh man, this thing is thick. And then I'm like, wait a second, this says
It's a
IDW.
comic.
This says IDW on the cover. This isn't a
Yeah.
rule book. They actually wrote a comic book for this.
Yes, they
Like,
did.
oh man, so now I got to read this comic book. So,
And it's pretty good too.
yeah, I'm like, this is awesome. They really didn't hold anything back.
They
And
didn't.
and I want to say, so and this is what I talk about a well-written rule book, something that's really easy to understand. You have all these moving pieces, you have all these different cards, you have 72 tactic cards, you've got 24 different ship cards, you've got uh, what do they have? You've got two different game boards that you can use, and as you read the rules, they actually specify in here what you do if you have two copies of this game and want to play.
Yeah.
You can mix the factions together and actually have you could combine the Wretch and the ISN and basically like play against somebody else who has a mixture of troops of these factions. That's in here. And it's all done in. Let me get to it. Let me get to it. It's all done in 9 pages.
Yeah. It was one that looked like they spent the money on. The rule book is done very well. You get a comic that adds really good flavor to this game. If you read it before you play the game, it really kind of sets up why all this is happening, which is really nice. Miniature quality, fantastic. The dice are pretty decent. The board wasn't half bad. I mean,
No,
it's not modular, but it comes in four pieces, and
right?
it, yeah, it's just a disappointment that they decided not to go any further.
Yeah, and I'm hoping you can still now. Granted, it's been 6 years, but I would think there would be. I don't think it would be too difficult for some people to make some stuff for this.
No, I think
Um,
it'd be pretty easy, actually.
and I haven't had a chance to scour Board Game Geek yet to see if there's some things out there where somebody's made like some, you wouldn't necessarily have the miniatures for it, but you could just make some token type things, and it might be a little less, but um, I mean there's 4 missions here. I mean, you could even if you had somebody who's way better at writing rules and doing things like that to make more missions, for it. This is just it's just super cool. It is a lot of fun. It is. Oh, let me. I take that back. There's 5 missions. I missed one. I missed one on the very back page. Even where you would think they would put just credits and all the extra crap. No, they've got another mission. So, um, this game was really a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to playing it again. Reese is looking forward to playing it again. Even so much, at the time we played it, it was just me and Reese home. He was I guess it was Thursday. It wasn't Friday. It was Thursday that we ended up playing because he was home sick. Well, he was home because he couldn't go to school because he got sent home from school for being sick the day before. Wasn't really sick the next day, but per rules he couldn't go back. So I
That's
kept
kind of
him
fun.
home. I kept him home with me, and I worked for 3/4 of the day, and then said, "You know what? Let's play this game." And he said, "Okay." And we had a lot of fun. So you should definitely check this out. I don't. I'm assuming that you could still find it in stores.
You can still get it on Amazon for $38.
And $38 is well worth it. With the level of quality that's in this box and the replayability of it, I mean, you could play this game without any of these missions. You don't need these missions to play the game. You could you could basically just do you could basically just take all the cards that you need and just go have a really epic space battle
Yeah,
with a
you
whole
could
bunch
totally
of little
do an X-Men
miniatures.
type of thing with it.
Yeah. So, um,
Well, I'm
we
glad
didn't.
you guys liked it as much as you did. It was sitting on my shelf collecting dust, so I'm glad it's getting some play.
Yeah, and it's gonna get a lot more play too, because I think this is even one that, um, if nothing else, my 5-year-old can just roll the dice for us and figure out where we get hit and take pegs off when shields get blown up or put pegs in when your hull gets destroyed. It was also really fun once we got done playing. We actually started going and comparing the different factions and like, okay, well, your ship only costs this much to activate it. Like I think it was the battleship. Oh hell, I'll just grab them right here. Let me see if I can't find them. Please hold while I find the right cards. So let's see. That's the veteran one. Oh, the other thing was going through and finding like so. Not only I didn't even mention this. Not only do they have all these different ships, but so this one, which you can't read, is called Vapor's Fate. This is the command battleship for the Wretch. You have one, you have two, you have three versions of that ship. You have standard command battleship, you have a seasoned command battleship, and you have a veteran command battleship. So it's basically like the ship has been upgraded. It's
Yeah.
it's you could level up the ship basically, and you could build that into this game. I don't Now we just played the first mission. I don't know if they actually, and in that one they just tell you use this, this, and this. I don't see anything in the rules where it says you can upgrade your ships during the game, and I don't know if any of the other missions do it. But I'm sure somebody who's really good at writing rules could find a way to write that into this game to where you could be playing with a standard command battleship, and then if you get a certain number of kills or a certain number of something, you could then upgrade it and get more stuff. So
I would hope so. Like I said, there's a Hasbro had a huge opportunity with this game, and for some reason they chose not to follow up on it. But I just looked on Board Game Geek thinking somebody made some PDFs or something. I didn't see anything, but um, it's just one of those games where after you played enough missions and you got used to it, you could just pretty much create your own game.
yeah,
I mean, they have the little asteroid tokens that you can put on the board, and you can pretty much change the map however you want. If you were very dedicated to the game and you weren't lazy like me, you could probably create your own maps and print them out
mm-hmm.
and use those. I mean, it's just a series of hexes that they made. Uh, the possibilities really were endless with this, and I'm just I'm glad you're having a good time with it. It it makes me remember back when I got it and was playing the heck out of it, and was like, oh, this is so awesome! I can't wait for an expansion.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you
exactly.
tell me can't let that go.
Right, right. Yeah. So the fun thing that we had that we did after we finished the game was we started comparing these cards and comparing the different ships and the different ships that the groups had and deciding which one was really better than the other. And that was the fun part of it. Like he really enjoyed going through and looking at it. Like so, the Wretches, um, big battleship. They're the main, the big daddy of them all. Only requires 4 energy to activate compared to the ISN that requires 6 energy to activate. But shields and hull combined for the Wretch is only 13, where the shield and hull combined for the ISN is 17. So there's a big difference in there. Um, the attacks, are different. They're similar. They have the same range, but the ISN battleship has 5 total attacks, but only three of those 5 can only be used on small ships. Where the Wretch ship has 3 attacks, but they can be used on anybody. So it's very interesting to go through and try to weigh, well, is that better or is that worse? How would that play out in our game? How could that play out in other games? And so just the replayability of being able to mix and match some of these in, um, it's it's a lot of fun. It's can be fun every time you play it. And unlike the original Battleship, when you played it, after you played it once, you're like, I don't really want to play that again, because the games could take a really long time, and it's just a bunch of calling out numbers and hoping that you hit something. This one provides so much more to it that when you get done playing, you're like, man, that was a lot of fun. We could actually play again. So yeah, it is a lot of fun. Playtime, they say Board Game Geek says 70 minutes. I actually don't think it says on the box the playtime for it. It does not. So 70 minutes is probably about right. You could, um, but I would say that 70 minutes is playtime and setup time, because it can actually go fairly quick once you start going. Um, so once you start playing and you start doing the attacks, you start moving through pretty quick. And as you get farther into the game, you realize, oh shit, I really don't have enough energy to do everything that I want to do. And then when you get to the end and you only have one ship, you have more energy than you know what to do with. So,
Imagine that.
yeah, um, really, really fun. So, that's all I got to say on that.
Awesome. I'm glad you liked it.
So, I think that is a good place to end this week's episode of Geekvice. We're doing a lot of board game stuff because we like playing board games. We're getting to play a bunch of board games, and because there's lots of cool board game stuff coming up in the near future. 2 weeks from yesterday is International Tabletop Day by Geek and Sundry, and is a big thing. There will be lots. If you like board games, there will be lots of board game shops that will be doing stuff. Um, Also, Planet Comic Con is that weekend, which Kip will be at.
Yep, I just bought my tickets the other day.
There you go. He will be there. They're going to be playing board games there as well. So that's a big deal. We decided we're not going to compete with Planet Comic Con, trying to get people to choose between Geekvice and Planet Comic Con. So the weekend after that, May 6th, we are having our Geekvice Tabletop Day, where we're going to have lots of fun games. I'll have Battleship Galaxies there. I'll have Mice and Mystics there. I know John's bringing a bunch of games, or Kip's bringing a bunch of games, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Scythe will be there.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll bring Scythe, Star Trek Panic, Police Precinct, um,
to
maybe
name a
even
few.
Black Fleet.
Ooh,
So,
there you go.
yeah.
And of course, I will. I'm going to be bringing Tricked Out Hero and Flapjacks and Sasquatches by our good friends at Prolific Games. Those will be there, so if you haven't played a Prolific Games game, you will have to do that at Geekvice Tabletop Day. But you can find information for that if you're watching us on YouTube. Just go to the description down there, click the link to go to our Facebook page. That'll actually take you right to the event page on our Facebook page. That'll give you all the information you need to know, but it's at California Pizza Kitchen in Leawood, Kansas. Address and everything's all right there. If you're listening to us on any of our podcasts, just go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/geekvice. You can also check out our blog, which Norm from Cheers put up another review today, or got a review up there for Ghost in the Shell. Went up today or yesterday, recently. Today. So go check that out on our blog at geekvice.blogspot.com. You can also follow us on Twitter. You can follow that man over there at Kip Killigan. You can follow me at Geekvice. And if you're not watching us on YouTube, you can go check us out on YouTube at tiny.cc/Geekvice. This week, or last week, we finished our Civilization 6 campaign on there, Let's Play. Now we're going to, I have been recording the beta version of Children of Zodiark. It is a Kickstarter game that should be coming out later this year. The beta test just came out this last week. I've got a few episodes recorded that's going to go up. Really fun game. It's a tactical combat game in kind of the same vein as like Final Fantasy Tactics. Super fun, and it combines board game mechanics into this with cards that have abilities on them and rolling dice even. So there's virtual dice that you get to roll. So lots of fun. You can check that out on Thursdays on our YouTube channel. I put new videos up there every Thursday. So check those out.
Do it now.
And of course, you can always email us at geekvice@gmail.com. Give us any of your questions, concerns, your comments, anything you want to throw out there, what board games you want to see at Geekvice Tabletop Day. You let us know. If we own them, they'll be there. If you don't tell us what it is, we can't make sure that we bring it. So if you've got a suggestion, you email us at geekvice@gmail.com. Let us know what you want there. And if we don't have it, if it's a game that we should have, maybe we'll just go get it. So
you never know. We're crazy like that.
Yeah, and I like board games. So, all right. Thanks, everybody, for listening to our ramblings, and we will see you next week.
Later.
This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.